online. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that part was bad. But Wesley Snipes made that movie. I'm sorry. Please go for it.
No, so seeing that Disney really didn't have that many of their very own live action movies and TV shows in production at the time, they decided that they would just rent out their sound stages to other productions companies looking for a place to shoot their stuff. So as it happens, right around this exact same time, 1993 to be exact, an ambitious third string C Squad announcer by the name of Eric Bischoff had just been promoted to WCW executive producer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with WCW, it was a wrestling organization founded by Ted Turner in 1988 after Ted acquired the assets of the old National Wrestling Alliance in addition to Jim Crockett Promotions. National Wrestling Alliance, NWA.
NWA.
Yeah. Old school. School.
Not the easy Dr. Dre version. No, the National Wrestling Alliance, NWA. And Ted's design was to compete with the then WWF, now WWE.
Mm-hmm.
And WCW had a lot of recognizable talent on their roster at the time, from Ric Flair to Sting to Dusty Rhodes, Lex Luger, a lot of household names, but there were even a young Mick Foley was wrestling in WCW at the time, a young Triple H.
Oh, wow.
John Paul Levesque. Terrorizing, yes, was wrestling there at the time. And Steve Austin got his start as stunning Steve Austin. Before he was Stone Cold and he shaved the head.
He was stunning.
He was stunning Steve Austin with long, luscious locks. However, for years, WCW had been horribly mismanaged. Prior to Eric Bischoff taking over, WCW was run by a guy by the name of, and I'm sure at least three of us at this table are going to remember this name. Who remembers Cowboy Bill Watts?
Right here. Yeah.
Okay. Kev?
No.
Okay. You say you know the 80s. If you growing up in Louisiana, if you knew Mid-South Wrestling was kind of its home was Louisiana.
Oh, was
New
it
Orleans.
Really?
Yes.
This is our territory.
Cowboy Bill Watts was an icon down here.
No way. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, I only watched like WWF. That's all I knew.
That was in the early 80s. Well, Bill wanted to run wrestling like it was still the 70s, early 80s, which wasn't working so well for WCW in the 1990s. Not to mention, Bill kind of had a penchant for rubbing TBS executives the wrong way with his boorish behavior. Like, there's a famous story that Mike Graham tells that in the middle of a meeting with TBS executives, Bill just wasn't feeling it and just excused himself and walked out of his office, walked out in the balcony and urinated off the balcony of TBS headquarters in front of everybody. Wow. So needless to say, TBS was looking to make a change. And what's more, it was kind of rumored at the time that if WCW couldn't turn a profit sometime soon, Ted was just going to pull the plug on the entire thing. It just wasn't working. Time to move on. So Eric Bischoff puts in his name for the job of executive producer. And he was able to sell the TBS executives on his background as a businessman and kind of an outsider to the wrestling business. He got into this whole announcing gig because he had a pretty face and he was selling Ninja Star throwing games.
Yeah, because he was like a karate guy.
Right.
Wow, okay.
Yes. And so he had a business background and he kind of stumbled into this because he was a good looking guy, but he's really an outsider to the wrestling business. And they liked that because after dealing with these ex-wrestlers who are peeing off balconies, they're like, you know what? You might be more of our guy. And what's more, he kind of had a vision to transition WCW wrestling from a business that relied mostly on live events where people would come out to see the show to one that was more of a television property. Because that's how it works, is like, the television is the advertisement and then you get people buying the pay-per-view when you get to see the big stars fight.
Right.
No one wants to go pay a lot of money to go see your big stars fight nobodies. So that was what it was going to do. It was supposed to be, hey, we're not going to make all of our money off the live events anymore. We're going to start becoming something on TV that fans are going to really gravitate towards. So prior to 1993, WCW was more like a southern regional territory. So they taped their television shows while they were on the road, which meant that all their TV shows were being taped in these grungy, smoky, dimly lit arenas.
Not packed with anybody.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
There was hardly anybody in attendance. There was little to no production value. At a time where the WWF was just putting on these great shows, they looked just
Dainty.
amateurish
by
comparison. So they'd book arenas that were designed to fit, like 5,000 people. but only 500 to 800 people would show up. And that's what a lot of these tickets being comped. Like, I remember my dad and I went to go see a WCW show because we got free tickets and there was nobody there. Now we got to watch Steve Austin wrestle. It was at the UNO Lakefront Arena and it was just comp tickets. They gave away a lot of comp tickets just to get as many people in there so their tapings would look like people were showing up.
Full, yeah. They were the booking.
When you're giving away tickets like that, guess what? People in the attendance, they're not really fans of WCW. They're just, okay, I got a free ticket, you know.
What we're going to do today.
Yeah, let's show up. But they're not going to bring any fun and energy to the show. Like, only passionate fans who really care about what you're doing are going to bring that level of energy and help take a product that is
mundane and lift it up.
Right, lift it up because they look like they're into it.
Yeah.
So if you're WCW, how do you deal with this audience full of people who are disinterested and bored? Well, you turn down the house lights. Because you don't want viewers at home seeing a half-empty arena with the few people there looking bored and disinterested.
Right.
They'd be saying to themselves, man, I'm glad I didn't buy a ticket to watch that.
That was
Those people look like they're about ready to fall asleep. So, needless to say, yes, the WCW live show model of business was not doing well. And they had 3 syndicated programs to produce. WCW Worldwide, which at the time was their flagship show, WCW Pro, and WCW Main Event. So Eric Bischoff decided to take WCW off the road and look for a soundstage where he could shoot multiple WCW tapings back to back. Now, this was important because of the issues that we talked about before. One, he could control the environment. So that means the lighting, the sound, the special effects, everything. Because when you think about it, there's a difference between seeing David Copperfield on tour at your local auditorium or arena, or seeing him at Vegas in a theater that's been hosting him for like a year-long run, and therefore every facet of the venue has been customized to make the show look as good as possible.
Is that what they used to do back in the day, where they would take the spotlight, just run it through like just various people when these shows would start, just be like, hey, it's the crowd. That
they want to show you the crowd because look, if the crowd's having fun, that makes you want to be there.
Yeah, but the spotlight would focus only on the people there.
Only people that have fun.
Man, that's
strategic.
Deep.
Yeah, the strategic.
That's deep. Okay, I get it. Now I was wondering why that. I was like, man, the crowd must be really special to them. Okay.
But I mean, you can appreciate the genius of this idea, which is that, look, if we got to take this show on the road, which means packing up everything, putting it on a truck, it has to be quickly unloaded, quickly installed, and then broken down again within a day, and then boom, back on the truck and out to the next town. You're not going to get as much of production values where your show looks as good if you could just stay in one place, customize the arena to fit your needs, and show them that. Then that is going to make your product look even better.
Yeah, it makes it way easier.
So that was one of the things that was important to Eric Bischoff. It's just easier when you're not tackling the challenges of adjusting to a new venue with different acoustics, different vantage points, different challenges every single night. You have one place, you stay there for an indeterminate amount of time while you film your show, and you customize everything to make your show look as good as possible.
Yeah, that makes it easier to get your talent and focus on that part of the business.
And so the second thing is that Eric could now make sure that there was a fresh audience for each of the show's tapings. Because when you're shooting 3 television programs back to back, the crowd's going to get bored by the third hour easily. Right. I mean, so how do you handle that? Shoot in 45-minute increments. And at every break, take the old crowd out, bring in a fresh crowd, all excited to watch a wrestling show be produced right in front of them.
Oh, nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Like an attraction.
I thought you were going to say alcohol. That's even better.
Alcohol, they would
fresh people. You got fresh people.
Yes.
This guy Bischoff was a genius.
Yes, he was.
He's bad.
Almost like he would revolutionize the whole wrestling game in the 90s.
He did.
Totally.
How?
It's as if you know something about this man.
Why are you here again?
Now, just to be clear, Disney was not Eric's only option. He also considered Universal Studios because they also could offer a similar setup. However, one thing that Disney could offer that Universal could not offer was what?
Buddy.
No.
A location.
No.
Okay.
People that could come in and attend the tapings.
Universal had people at their parks. Anybody? Anybody?
The audience?
Bueller?
No,
audience. They can offer an audience. They had people attending their parks.
It was closer for wrestlers to get there as opposed. No, they're
they're all in Orlando. branding.
Oh,
Think about it.
Yeah, that's true.
That is one thing that Universal could do is co-brand because
Disney is a Disney brand.
If Disney and WCW is getting together with this highly successful entertainment juggernaut in Disney, I mean,
bring your kids. It's safe.
How well does that look? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's